The power has been out for 11 hours. The heating grid collapsed after a combination of ice storms and infrastructure neglect that nobody wanted to admit was coming. Your neighbor's breath is visible through their living room window. They're burning furniture now. Your phone died 3 hours ago. And even if it hadn't, there is no signal anyway. The temperature outside is 8 degrees F and dropping. You have maybe 6 hours before the inside of your house matches the outside. And by then, your pipes will burst and your options will narrow to freeze or leave. No worries. We're going to fix this using physics, trash, and questionable life choices. Most people think, I'll just sleep in my car with the engine running, warm, safe, easy. And that is adorable because here is what actually happens. You fall asleep in a warm metal box that slowly turns into a tomb. Either carbon monoxide poisons you into a coma, you don't wake up from, or you run out of gas, and hypothermia picks you apart cell by cell. While you're unconscious, your car is not a bedroom. It is a refrigerator with an exhaust pipe, and treating it like a motel room is how people end up as statistics. My job is to explain why your car wants to kill you, and your job is to stop being so trusting. Let's break this down into phases, because survival in winter isn't one decision. It is a sequence of increasingly uncomfortable physics problems. Here is the myth. I'll crack a window and run the engine. Fresh air solves everything. Here is the reality. Carbon monoxide doesn't care about your window gap. It is heavier than air when it is cold. It is odorless. It is invisible. And it pools in low spaces like the floor of your car. You crack a window 2 in. Congratulations. You just created a draft that mixes poison with oxygen. You won't smell it. You won't taste it. Your body will just stop prioritizing consciousness. The problem: snow, ice-blocked exhaust. If you're parked in a snowbank or if snow piles up around your tailpipe while you sleep, the exhaust has nowhere to go. It backflows into the cabin through microscopic gaps in your car's body. And modern cars, they're sealed for fuel efficiency. That is great for gas mileage, terrible for not dying. The trash-based fix: you don't run the engine, period. If you absolutely must, you run it for 10 minutes every hour, and you physically check the exhaust pipe every single time. You also sleep with one leg wedged against the door. So if you start losing consciousness, the discomfort wakes you. It is like using pain as an alarm clock. Ugly but effective. Outcome: if you ignore this, you are unconscious in 90 minutes, dead in 3 hours. Your body just thinks it is tired, or it is permanently. Let's say you're smart. You didn't run the engine. Now you're sitting in a cold metal box with glass windows, and you're thinking, I have blankets, I'll be fine. Cute. Here is the brutal truth. Your car loses heat faster than your body produces it. Glass windows radiate heat outward. Metal body panels conduct heat away from you, like they're trying to win a prize. Even with blankets, you're fighting a losing war of thermodynamics. Your body burns about 100 watts of heat at rest. Your car loses 200 watts through radiation and conduction. You're a space heater in a leaky freezer. The problem: breakdown. Hypothermia doesn't kill you all at once. It kills you in stages. First, you shiver. Then you stop shivering because your body gives up. Then you get confused, clumsy, lethargic. Then you make stupid decisions, like taking off your coat because you feel hot. That is your brain misfiring. You're not hot, you're dying. By the time you realize something's wrong, your core temp is below 95 degrees F, and you've lost the ability to fix it. The trash-based fix: insulation under you, not just over you. The car seat sucks heat out of your body faster than anything else. You need a barrier. Cardboard, foam, sleeping bag, yoga mat, trash bag stuffed with newspaper. Anything that creates an air gap between you and the seat. Then you cover the windows, all of them. Blankets, towels, duct tape, trash bags. You're building a cave inside your car. Dark, ugly, claustrophobic, also alive. One dark humor metaphor: sleeping in an uninsulated car in winter is like trying to stay warm inside a refrigerator by wearing a sweater. The sweater helps. The refrigerator wins. Scientific explanation: your body snorts, prioritizes core temperature. When your extremities get cold, blood flow pulls inward to protect your organs. That is why your fingers and toes go numb first. But if the cold keeps coming, your core temp drops and your heart slows, and your brain stops doing smart things, like stay awake and don't die. Outcome: you have maybe 4 to 6 hours before hypothermia becomes irreversible. Less if you're wet, way less if you're drunk, because alcohol makes you feel warm, while actually increasing heat loss. Congrats, you just turned yourself into a popsicle with a smile. Nobody talks about this, but condensation will ruin you. Your breathing. Every breath you take releases moisture into the air. In a sealed car, that moisture has nowhere to go, so it condenses on the coldest surfaces. The windows, the metal roof, the door panels. By morning, the inside of your car looks like a terrarium. Everything's damp. Your blankets, your clothes, your skin. The problem? Wet equals cold. Water conducts heat 25 times faster than air. If your blanket gets damp, it stops insulating and starts refrigerating. You're now wrapped in a cold, wet sheet. That is actively stealing your body heat. And you can't dry it because there is no sun, no heat source, and no airflow. The trash-based fix ventilation. You need airflow, but not enough to freeze. Crack 2 windows on opposite sides of the car. 1 in max. This creates cross-ventilation without turning your car into a wind tunnel. The moisture escapes. You stay dry. You don't wake up in a soggy nightmare. Psychological note: damp cold feels worse than dry cold. And feelings matter when you're trying not to panic. Panic makes you breathe faster, which creates more moisture, which makes everything worse. It is a stupid feedback loop, and you're the star. Outcome: if you ignore moisture, you wake up cold, wet, and demoralized. That is the trifecta of bad decisions. Wet clothes in winter are a death sentence on a timer. Your body is a furnace, but furnaces need fuel. Here is what people forget. Staying warm burns calories. Shivering burns a lot of calories, up to 400 per hour. If you're not eating, your body runs out of fuel. Your core temp drops faster and hypothermia accelerates. You can't shiver your way to survival on an empty stomach. The problem: breakdown. Most people pack for comfort, not combustion. Granola bars, crackers, maybe some trail mix. That is cute. You need fat and protein, calorie-dense foods that burn slow. Peanut butter, nuts, cheese, jerky, chocolate, anything that gives your body long-term fuel. The trash-based fix: eat before you sleep. Your body digests food and releases heat as a byproduct. It is called thermogenesis, and it is basically turning your stomach into a tiny space heater. A handful of nuts and a spoonful of peanut butter before bed can raise your core temp by half a degree. That half degree is the difference between uncomfortable and hypothermic. Dark humor metaphor. Trying to stay warm without eating is like trying to drive a car without gas. Sure, you can sit in it, but you're not going anywhere. And eventually it is just the expensive place to freeze to death. Outcome: no food equals faster hypothermia. Your body cannibalizes itself for warmth. Starting with muscle tissue, you wake up weaker, colder, and closer to the edge. This one's clever, petty, and stupid, which makes it perfect. Here is the trick. Before you settle in for the night, run the engine for 10 minutes with the heat blasting. Get the cabin warm, then turn it off and immediately insulate. Cover the windows, seal yourself in, trap that heat. Your car becomes a temporary heat battery. It won't last all night, but it buys you 30 to 45 minutes of psychological comfort, which is enough to fall asleep before the cold kicks in. Why it works. Your brain associates warmth with safety. If you're warm when you fall asleep, you're less likely to panic, which means you breathe slower, produce less moisture, and conserve energy. It is a placebo effect with a real outcome. The petty genius. You're tricking yourself into relaxing long enough to survive. It is like lying to your own nervous system, and your nervous system falls for it every time. Outcome: you fall asleep calm instead of terrified. Calm people make better decisions. Terrified people take off their coats because their brain is melting. Where you park matters more than you think. The myth: I'll park somewhere hidden and safe. The reality: hidden equals trapped. If you park in a secluded spot and something goes wrong, medical emergency, carbon monoxide, sudden snow accumulation, nobody will find you until spring. You're not playing hide and seek. You're trying not to die alone in a metal box. The trash-based fix: parked near a building with residual heat. Gas stations, 24-hour stores, apartment complexes, anywhere with foot traffic and ambient warmth. The building radiates heat, and even a few degrees of difference can slow hypothermia. Plus, if you need help, people are nearby. Bonus: park with your car's rear facing the wind. The engine block is in the front. If wind hits the front, sucks heat out of the engine bay faster. Rear first equals slower heat loss. Scientific explanation: wind chill doesn't directly affect objects, but it accelerates convective heat loss. Your car loses heat faster in wind. Parking strategically minimizes exposure. Outcome: better positioning equals slower heat loss, equals more time before things go wrong. If you're truly desperate, a candle can save your life. but it can also kill you. So let's be smart. The setup: one small candle, tea light or votive in a metal can, soup can, coffee can, anything non-flammable. Place it on the dashboard or center console. Light it. It produces about 100 watts of heat, not much, but enough to raise the cabin temp by 5 to 10 degrees F over several hours. The danger: fire and oxygen. A candle burns oxygen. In a sealed car, you'll suffocate before you freeze. So, you crack a window 1 inch, just enough to let in fresh air without losing all your heat. The trash-based Genius. The metal can act as a heat sink and radiator. It absorbs heat from the flame and radiates it outward. You're building a tiny janky space heater out of garbage. Dark humor metaphor. It is like trying to warm a cathedral with a birthday candle. Technically possible, extremely sad. But survival isn't about dignity. It is about not being a corpse. Outcome: a candle can keep you alive for 8 to 10 hours. If you manage it right, just don't fall asleep with it burning. Waking up on fire is objectively worse than waking up cold. Here is the thing about surviving in your car during winter. You're not trying to be comfortable. You're trying to outlast the cold long enough to make a better decision in daylight. The science is simple. Your body is a heat engine that runs on calories, and your car is a poorly insulated metal box that radiates heat into the void. Every decision you make is about slowing that heat loss, insulating the windows, layering under your body, managing moisture, eating fuel, staying dry. The psychology is simpler. Cold makes you stupid. It slows your thinking, kills your judgment, and convinces you that bad ideas are good ones. Your job is to make the right calls before you get cold, because once hypothermia starts, your brain is no longer a reliable advisor. The harsh truth: most people who die in their cars during winter don't die from the cold. They die from underestimating it. They think a blanket and a running engine are enough. They're not. The cold doesn't care about your plan. It cares about thermodynamics, and thermodynamics always wins. But here is the good news. If you understand the physics, if you prepare with trash and insulation and food, if you manage moisture and positioning and ventilation, you're not trying to beat winter. You're just trying to be harder to kill than the frozen wasteland around you. And that is doable.